What's up, everybody? Today I'm going to talk about some of my favorite books of this year so far. The first one I want to discuss is Freakonomics. I tend to read a lot of acclaimed and classic books, so obviously this one's kind of up there. The big thing that I liked about this book was the ending. Usually, or at least ideally, I guess. Ideally, what you want at the end of your book is like the big message. Like what is one big key thing that we could take from this reading? And I didn't really think it was to have that big takeaway, just because really in the introduction it talks about that. There is no unifying thing, therefore you shouldn't kind of expect a big message at the end. But it did have one, and it's one that I think is really important. If there's no unifying themes, there's at least a common thread running through the everyday application of Freakonomics. It has to do with thinking sensibly about how people behave in the real world. All it requires is a novel way of looking, of discerning, of measuring. Will the ability to think such thoughts improve your life materially? Probably not, but the net effect is likely to be more subtle than that. You might become more skeptical of the conventional wisdom. You may begin looking for hints as to how things aren't quite what they seem. Perhaps you will seek out some trove of data and sift through it, balancing your intelligence and your intuition to arrive at a glimmering new idea. I feel like this is just a great thing to really keep in mind, because it's hard to do. Like, looking at the facts, looking at how the world really is, and then making conclusions based on that alone, that should be like the golden standard, but it's just hard to do. I mean, there's prejudice that gets involved, bias. Maybe we were too locked in on the theory, trying to explain everything when it can't. I mean, I've seen that happen so many times in college. I remember some students who were very passionate about certain viewpoints. Maybe it might be Marx, Freud, feminist theory, whatever it is. This is not to undermine those theories, by the way. They're all very important. But they seem to just want to prove that theory more than anything. And then they let go of the evidence that is meant to support it. Like, it just happens. And this book, I feel like, is advocating for something against that. And I love that so much. The other book that I really liked was this one. Yeah, great. You might recognize this one. I, like many people, have seen the movie, of course. And I loved the movie so much. I thought it was fascinating. Tom Hanks, I mean, yeah, Tom Hanks is just good, isn't he? Like, he's just one of those actors. Amazing. And I've been doing that recently, where I read the books and not just watch the movies. Like, I just I don't know, it's fun. It's surprisingly fun. I know there's some books out there that are very theory based, where they focus on how does that adaptation come about? What are the principles that people follow when doing those adaptations? I want to read more about that, just because stuff like this is pretty good. Sometimes it's just so different. So different. For one, I did not expect this to be so episodic. Like, I know in the movie he goes through a bunch of different random things throughout his life, but they find a way to unify it, right? I forget the soldier's name that he saves or whatever, but that guy's little B plot thing brings everything together, because you're able to see him transform and really develop as a character, and you see their relationship kind of build. That's not in the book. That scene where he saves some guy's life, that's a whole thing, but it doesn't really develop in the same way. And that was really fascinating to me, and I was really happy to see that, because I just don't get it. How do you develop that movie based off this book and go a completely different path? I'm probably gonna do more research on that, but I am grateful for this book for kind of allowing me to see that a little bit more, allowing me to see the differences between the book and the film. I want to say that the book might be a little better, but I'm not sure. Like, better in what way? I don't know. It's just more of this guy. Like, I know we get some dialogue from him, obviously, like the internal dialogue, but you definitely get way more here, and it's really fascinating. I felt like I was reading Huckleberry Finn, or like a modern-ish version of it, and I really like that. I don't know. I'm a sucker for it. Huckleberry Finn probably is definitely one of my favorite American novels. Emphasis on favorite American novels. There's a bunch of other different novels I like. But anyways, yeah, this one's definitely up there. At least for like enjoyability, right? Another book that I really liked is this one, The Comedy Bible. Honestly, even if you do not care about the process, like you just enjoy stand-up or you enjoy TV shows or whatever, or like sitcoms and stuff like that, I feel like this is worth reading, just because there definitely is that greater appreciation of the craft. One thing that Judy Carter does really well in this book is there's a lot of like compare and contrast. Like, here is what a beginner comedian would do for a joke, and then here's what a more experienced comedian would do. And it's just fascinating. Like, it's not something that I really think about, but really it seems like beginner comedians start off with too much story, but the story doesn't lead to a punchline, or if it does, it takes too long, honestly. And I expect most people to have this problem. We don't watch beginners, you know what I mean? We don't do that. We watch the pros, we watch the good stuff, right? And so it was very like illuminating to see just how different the craft is at different levels. And it also just did a great job, like really amazing job at explaining how comedy works within sitcoms. I don't like Seinfeld. I don't really watch it that much. Or actually, now I think about it, I don't think I've seen a single full episode. I've probably seen like clips, you know? But after reading this book, I'm like, okay, obviously they did something right, and I really want to explore that more. Like, overall, it's just a really enjoyable book. Like, I was not expecting to get this much information from this book. Fine, yeah, maybe I'm a novice at comedy, like it's not something I've ever studied, but I have studied film, and I've studied I forget the right word for it, but there's like story theory kind of thing. I don't know. So I wasn't expecting too much, and yet I still learned a lot, and it really helped fill in the gaps for me, because now I could see, okay, if I combine these two frameworks, then I could get this new insight, at least for me, at least a new way of doing things. And yeah, I enjoy that a lot. Something about the craft, whenever people really talk about their craft and they know it well, it's just a great thing. Such a great like experience. Like, I know it feels like I'm almost talking to someone in these moments, and it's nice. It's genuinely very nice. You know, probably the reason why I like George Orwell's Politics in the English Language, or I think Mencken even has an essay about criticism, and he obviously is talking about the work that he's doing. Stuff like that is fascinating to me, and this book really brought that experience again. Anyways, that's all I have to say. Thank you for watching. Have a good one.